Teachers, what's the weirdest thing you've had to take away from a student? Did he know what they were? Edit. Parent comment was that a child was using nipple clamps as a bookmark. Eyeballs. I worked with a blind student with autism. When he would get angry, he would pop out his glass eyeballs and throw them across the room. They were expensive, so Mom asked that we put them in a plastic bag in his backpack if he threw them. No more eyeballs for you today, see no evil monkey. My grandpa had a glass eye. He would rub it and exclaim, "I think I've got something in my eye." Pop it out and say, "Can you check for me?" while thrusting it toward you. Not a teacher, but was part of almost eliminating the prize box in my kid's class. Kid is in kindergarten. I'm friends with a few of the other fathers in her class. One of the things her class has is a prize box. If the kids are all on their game for the week, or a kid does something especially good, they get to choose something from the box. It's filled with the kind of stuff you would find in a blister pack in the dollar store. Stuff like a little plastic car, or a bouncy ball or whatever. Anyway, the kids love it, the parents supply stuff for it. So one day my kid comes home with a effing kazoo from the thing. Nothing like a 6-year-old who just figured out how a kazoo works while you are trying to work from home. So immediately I fire off an email to the list of my fellow dads asking what wise ass put kazoos in the prize box, and then see that 2 other people had beat me to the question. One of the guys finally replies back, "Hey." And it was on. I countered with whistles. Someone else had this annoying popping thing, someone else got the world's worst balsa planes, so the second time it flew it was destined to snap in half and upset your kid. This went on for like a good 2 weeks before someone crossed the line and sent in glitter. By this point the teacher was on to us, and told our wives on us. This is officially my favorite story here. An entire menagerie of live insects. One afternoon my class decided that they should see how many bugs they could capture and keep alive in my classroom. The next day, I returned from covering lunch duty in another part of the school and noticed that one of the cubbies had paper towel taped over the front like a curtain. Before I could investigate, I noticed several Tupperware containers hiding in desks. Dozens of worms, that was the cubby, many assorted beetles. Uncounted ants. 4 bees. A wasp. And, most upsetting, several flies which were crazy glued to index cards and had their wings removed. That was a long day in a long year. How the F did they safely catch a wasp? Was it loose in the room? It was a rural country school. There's always at least 2 kids in every country school that have magic animal soothing powers. I see, I'm from a rural town, I'm quite the chicken whisperer, and I'll let the hens catch a wasp. Instant pudding. My student was mixing it in a large Cool Whip container, using milk from lunch, right in the middle of a lesson on Macbeth. They were making their own witch's brew. This is my brother's story, and he was the kid. It was a sandwich bag full of spiders. He collected them during recess, and one of the monitors probably got freaked out. A whole salami. Kid kept walking over to his backpack and sticking his face in to take secret bites without me noticing. I noticed. This one is the funniest to me because it is just such a kid thing to do. Kid thing. I'm in college and I'd totally do this. There was a boy in my 7th grade class that wasn't allowed to have coins because he'd eat them. Jingle 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 jingle. Him taking a dump must have sounded like a slot machine paying out. Edit. Haha. Of course my first gilded comment is about poop. First thing that came to mind, a drawing of a peanut. One kid said he had a peanut allergy, so a boy drew a peanut on a piece of paper, and started shoving it in the other boy's face and being a general dick with it. Boom. Roasted. Dry roasted. Christmas ornaments. They were throwing them at each other and it eventually caused a fight. Next to that would be a curtain rod. He found it and kept hitting people with it. Bonk. Handcuffs. From an 8-year-old girl. Not quite police grade, but more than just some adult fun cuffs. Sent that down to the counselor. We had a 5th grade student of a police officer cuff his friend to the play structure on the playground a few years back. Had to call the campus cop over to figure it out. Poor lad didn't look any worse for wear, just had to chill alone outside for a bit while his friends got back to class. Read it as he was out there for a few years and was very concerned how nobody cared. Edit. This is now my most liked comment, thanks. A wine cooler that looked like a Capri Sun. This was a 2nd grader and she was just getting ready to drink it. Meanwhile, mom is just sneak sipping on a Capri Sun at work when reality hits her, flushed face. I saw a tweet like 2 years ago saying someone's dad was drinking a White Claw every day on his way into work because he thought it was another seltzer brand like LaCroix. Growing up, I used to think Mike's Hard Lemonade was a really badass lemonade. My sister's teacher had to call my dad about a suspicious powder my sister was eating out of a bag at school. She was dipping her finger in a bag of powdered Jell-O and eating it and letting other kids do the same. In a somewhat similar vein, a dumb trend went around my school that consisted of kids violently snorting dib-dab powder, sherbet, then proceeding to scream in pain when they had a nosebleed and or pretend they were high. This was an all-girls school. Don't ever let the boys' cool girls boring memes fool you. We also do dumb crap. Chef's knife stuffed in the waistband of his sweatpants, no underwear, during a snowstorm. In case he was attacked by a polar bear? I don't recall exactly, but that very well might have been it. Seriously. Alaska? No. Colorado. Not real polar bears. This student, I don't remember his exact DSM diagnosis. I don't think it was schizophrenic. I can't recall. He was almost always really nice and a gentle soul, albeit he'd say weird things. On rare occasions he would show a little different side. That morning was him showing one of those different sides. A small trinket box, about palm-sized, decorated with gems and glitter, with a live mouse inside. The mouse was named Jimmy and had been caught in the child's house. Free my man Jimmy, he didn't do nothing wrong. Edit, spelling and why is this my most upvoted comment? A girl had about 50 plastic spoons in her pocket, she tripped and they all fell out. We all found it hilarious, but a high-up teacher was walking by and made her pick them up, she was going to anyway, and put them all in the bin. He was probably very confused over the whole situation. Why would she even have them LMFAO and that many too? A giant head of lettuce that just suddenly appeared on his desk. Where did he get it? Are you sure it wasn't a cabbage? Because I might know where he got it from. My cabbages. I have been on Reddit for many years and have never noticed people hollering my cabbages. Everywhere up until 8 months ago, when my friend made me watch Atla. Now I see it everywhere, and, if I don't see it, I post it. Obligatory, not a teacher, I'm an EA, educational assistant, in a school. Plastic spoons. Hundreds of them. I still don't know why, but one grade 5 kid came to school with his backpack stuffed full. Nothing else was in his backpack, not even his lunch. He hung it on the back of the chair and pulled out a spoon and was fiddling around with it instead of doing work. So I took the spoon away. 10 minutes later he has another one. I took that. 10 more minutes, a third. The teacher took it away. 10 minutes later another, you can see the pattern here. I finally opened his backpack when I saw him grab the 6th or 7th spoon, and the bag was full. Obviously the teacher had to call home since he had no lunch. Mom comes, looks at him with just resignation, and goes, "Why?" as she hands him his lunch. He shrugged, grinned, and walked back to class. Mom is clearly used to it and has learned to go with the flow. If I had a nickel for every time a worrying amount of plastic spoons was confiscated from a 5th grader in this post, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, it's just weird that it happened twice. Just don't give that one kid the nickels as he eats them. Former teacher here. Wasn't part of the initial apprehension but was part of the follow-up investigation. Weirdest thing was a bag of turtles. Yep. Kid caught a bunch of the little salmonella-filled red-eared sliders at a local pond on his way to school one day. We had a turtle black market at the school by noon, and by the end of the day the principal had a dozen in a bowl in his office. Kid got caught because a terrible smell was reported from his locker. Janitor opened it up and there was a bag of turtles. The rest of the day was spent tracking down the ones that had already been sold. Edit: I've owned a few reptiles as pets. To my knowledge, small, under 4 inches, red-eared sliders have been illegal in the pet trade for quite some time due to a risk of salmonella in their skin. All turtles that were brought to school were under 4 inches. Principal released turtles to pond that evening. Middle school, kid was 7th grader. The best business venture we had at the school was when a different kid, who walked to school would stop and buy 10 to 15 Monster Energy drinks from a convenience store in the morning and sell them at school. Kid banked. The operation was eventually shut down. Wish I knew what Kid was doing now. The way this is written definitely makes it sound like the principal had bought turtles from this black market. You're in big trouble, young man. Unless you cut me in. Not a teacher but a friend of a teacher. A letter to his other friend about how he once masturbated in class. They are extremely awkward now. Yup, incredibly strange that kids use letters these days. Text would make much more sense. Edit: it hurts me that this joke flew over so many people's heads. Letters can be burned. A flavored condom. From a kindergartner. This little boy comes into music class, at 1 p.m. or so, and he's been at school since 9 o'clock, and says to me, "Look. I have a candy." And holds up a wrapped strawberry-flavored condom. Trying to cause a scene, I tell him, "Remember, we're not going to eat in music class because it's hard to sing with candy in our mouths." I pointed out the pocket on his jean jacket with a snap button closure and tell him to put it in there, making a mental note to tell teacher later. I always try to avoid losing control of a room of 20 and 5 6-year-olds. Kid puts condom in his pocket, and I start music class. Later on, I see him putting something in his mouth. Put that back in your pocket for after school or something to that effect. Pretty sure food is scarce at home, to taking it away would have been a huge scene. Teacher comes at the end of the half-hour lesson and I discreetly tell her what's going on and she says she'll handle it. Great. After school, the middle-aged, male school counselor comes up to me and says, "Thanks to you I've been walking around an elementary school all afternoon with a flavored condom in my pocket." Sorry, not sorry. Edit: the wrapper had pictures of strawberries on it. Also, I don't know how many of you have ever tried to take candy from a 5-year-old, but it doesn't go well. Especially if you take candy from a kid who doesn't have a lot of food at home and then put it in the garbage in front of him. It would have been a massive scene and the other 20 kids would have gone wild. I chose to keep the problem as controlled as possible. Why would he keep it in his pocket, lol? Because it's less weird than putting it on? Less likely to be caught with it on though. Ziploc bags filled with water. That was a trend for a while at my school. Kids would claim they needed it in case they got thirsty, but usually would just try to pop them in each other's laps during class. That is a very schoolboy thing, actually holding the thing that can F you up for the sake of the game. My best friend and I would sit in my tree fort and place Ziploc bags filled with water in the tree branches above us. Then, taking turns, we would each shoot the bags with a pellet gun, intending to place the shot just right, so the water would come pouring on the other. Mom put a stop to it after we demolished the first box and were starting on our second. Dad thought it was effing funny though. I'm not going to lie, this sounds super fun. A can of deodorant. You're probably thinking, that's not that weird, except that the two kids were using it by spraying it on the back of the other and then setting fire to the thing. In the middle of the class. They didn't see any problem with it because it only stays lit for a few seconds. Oh my god, the kids at my middle school did this too. We had an entire assembly where they yelled at us about it. An uncooked chicken breast. Actually, 2 uncooked, boneless chicken breasts. The student had one in each pocket. That's so much weirder than a bunch of other things on this list. Did they say why? He liked how they felt. I'm glad I could use fear of salmonella as an excuse to use gloves to take them away. Dual-wielding salmonella. +5 poison damage each. I have questions. Nobody has answers. The grossest way of patting your bra. Not a teacher, but in 3rd grade the teacher had to confiscate all the origami cranes in the room because one kid decided to make and sell them at a quarter apiece. He got caught when he started selling on the playground. I thought it was effed up we had to give up all the paper cranes in our desks, but we didn't get our quarters back. I named mine Swan and was very sad to see her go. This seems pretty harmless. I don't understand why people bother. It's just kid stuff. Also, your crane's name made me chuckle. Why would they go as far out of their way to prevent a child from selling paper cranes? They don't want children to commit tax fraud. A can of Cheese Whiz. It was from a student visiting from another country, and she was enamored of the incredible canned cheese product she had discovered. So much so, she kept either opening her backpack to stare lovingly at it or taking it out during class to get some sweet cheesy goodness. It was pretty cute actually, and I made sure she got her cheese product returned to her at the end of class. Man, did she love Cheese Whiz. That's hilarious. I feel like a lot of people would remember her as Cheese Whiz Girl. This kid had a backpack full of baby rabbits. He found them in the field on the way to school. They were so tiny and vulnerable. We both cried. Not a teacher, but our vice principal had to confiscate a lobster from us after we bought it as a birthday gift for a friend. For those asking, it was a live lobster. We wrapped it in a box with some holes poked in it. When we presented it to him during first break, he just heard something scratching inside it and asked, "WTF is this? Why the F did you want to give them a effing lobster?" Lamau. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.